on Santa Cruz Waves. Welcome to what number, Neil?
396.
396 off-the-lip radio shows.
That's remarkable, you know that?
Which is remarkable because we thought we'd last 5 shows.
Yeah.
So,
6.
It may be 6. So
Yeah.
to be in almost the 400 is amazing. And again, welcome everybody to this great show we got planned for tonight. Joy Flynn is here. Welcome, Joy, to this show.
Hi, everybody.
And
to be here.
Joy, you're in the camera now, so we wait. Perfect.
I'm smiling. I'm really smiling right now.
Hard with these masks,
I know.
right? So you people out there listening tonight, we're gonna figure out not only what Joy has accomplished, who she is, and what she believes in. We're gonna get a lot of history tonight about you, and the little bit we've heard so far is very interesting. First and foremost, I first became aware of you from a photo of you on a knee in downtown Santa Cruz.
Right.
From a, would we call it a march?
An action.
It's an action. Okay, from an action that you spearheaded. Is that a correct word I can use?
Yeah, I organized it.
You organized it?
Yeah, and I put the word out, and people caught the spark and needed it and came.
Stuff from that day. What day was that?
It was May 30th.
May 30th. Quite a while ago now.
Yeah.
And so, but the photos from that kind of went viral. I mean, I saw
Especially one with the chief and the
Chief Andy Mills. Correct.
and Mayor Justin Cummings.
Yes.
That picture was amazing. In fact, I shared it here on the Instagram of the Santa Cruz boardroom. We had Chief Andy Mills here. It was one of the highest liked photos in the history of the social media of this business,
Oh, wow.
which is
I
impressive.
didn't know that.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is impressive. Well, can you explain what motivated you? Let's get back all before that. Like, what people, when they organize, there's a motivation.
Yeah.
What was your motivation for that?
So, you know, I was sitting in my home by myself and really still kind of grappling with what happened with Ahmaud Arbery and the shooting of Ahmaud Arbery, just a black man who went for a leisurely run, something that everybody does, something that everybody can relate to, many people, especially here in Santa Cruz. It's kind of what we do. And then just also grappling with being in shelter in place and not really knowing how to make sense of it all, and then everything with George Floyd, and I was just so kind of distraught and confused and really emotionally charged, and again found myself sitting there pacing in my house by myself, like, what do I do? I need to do something. Like, why isn't anybody talking about this? And it was just crazy to me that I hadn't heard from anybody. Nobody had reached out to me. I'm on this WhatsApp thread with this group called Black Girl Magic, and I kept looking at it, kind of like a girl waiting for a guy to text, right? I kept looking at it. Like, why aren't they saying anything? And I was like, wait, I can say something. I can be the one to say this. And I was just moved to action, and I wrote basically, meet me at the clock tower at 9 a.m. on Saturday. And it started there. And then this woman named Cheryl Williams, she caught the spark, and she wrote a little note and asked me, you know, do we wear something? Do we, you know, say something? I said, we're going to write the names of people that we know of that have been mistreated by police violence or killed by police violence, and write it on a white piece of paper with black ink. And then at, I think it was 9:28, we're going to take a knee, because that's when 9:28 p.m. was when George Floyd was pronounced dead during that public execution. And I just, again, felt really compelled to do something. And clearly people wanted to join. I reached out to my other groups of friends on Facebook and Instagram, and then they spread it out and they spread it out, and it just caught fire. had a lot of people tell me the day before, and mind you, that happened on a Saturday morning, and I sent that out on a Thursday morning. So while it was days in the making, it was years in the making, and I'll get to that in just a second. But it was just so incredible, the response that came from that, and just the clear desire to mourn together safely. And I think people just didn't know how. And again, people were saying, oh, be careful, because the night before was when all of the violence had started, even in San Jose. So there was a concern of it being in Santa Cruz. And I said, I know my community. I know who we are and what we need. And I know that it's going to be okay. I know that people are going to be peaceful and it's going to be safe.
And it was.
It was,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I gave clear directions because I wanted people to, you see these marches where people are not social distancing, and we've seen an uptick in COVID because that's a real thing. And I would feel terribly if I put together an action that caused somebody to be sick.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew as a community, we needed to have a safe space to come together to mourn. So in my directions, I said, go down Pacific Avenue, and I went with chalk and marked 6 feet apart from people. Unfortunately, those squares are a foot apart, so every 6 squares it worked out really well. And there was just a line of people on both sides.
How many people came?
They figure about 1,000, maybe a little more than 1,000 came to that particular action.
Did you see when Mayor Cummins and Chief Mills
I did.
showed up?
Oh yeah.
When they and were you did you see them when they took a knee?
I did.
What was going through your mind at that moment?
What were you gonna say, Neil?
No, did you invite them? Did you invite the authorities?
So yes. I had it on. Somebody gave me some advice to reach out to Chief Mills, and I had just with the activity and the. I'm very involved in the community. I'd met Chief Mills a couple of times in passing, so I was somewhat familiar to him, and so I had reached out to him on Facebook and said, hey, I'm doing this. And I had actually, because I'm on the board for the Second Harvest Food Bank, at an awards dinner a year prior, sat next to now Mayor Cummings, then Vice Mayor Cummings, at dinner. So he was familiar with me as well. And I did not have his contact, so I couldn't reach out to him. But he came to it. And then Chief Mills met me ahead of time, and I have some other pictures that haven't been shown in the media that I'm happy to share with you of the two of us together and just talking. And he was just, I'm here to support you. You have this, right to protest, and whatever you need, just let us know. He put me in contact with one of the other officers. Gave me the direct phone number in case. My biggest concern was a provocateur, and that was what we saw a lot of over the weeks that passed May 30th. Was these provocateurs, which were known as the Boogaloo Boys, and actually white supremacists who would provoke and ensue violence, and it really wasn't coming from the intention of the general population.
Right. Their intent is to tarnish.
Exactly.
And make it look like a bad event.
Yes, and kind of make it look like black people are being violent and rowdy, and all the kind of the negative biases that already exist. That those provocateurs were there to kind of instill that and cement that idea about.
None of that happened though.
Not at mine, no.
And one of the things interesting too, Neil, about Chief Andy Mills is I felt that was one of the first moments that almost made the police look human.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it was
Right.
needed,
Yeah.
and it was so important
Yeah.
because there's bad seeds everywhere.
Absolutely.
We know that,
Yeah.
and the bad gets all the press and the good doesn't.
Right.
And I felt that was a good moment and
Well,
it needed to happen.
If the chief had just taken one knee by himself, no one would have cared. You know, because he was there with Justin Cummings.
Yeah.
You know, if Justin Cummings was there by himself, then it
Right.
wouldn't have been a big deal. But the two of them together,
Yeah.
they were coming together to make a stand
Yeah.
as one. It was a huge event,
Right.
or a huge moment.
It was. It really, really was. And to me, it was, both standing in humility and both standing in a desire to see and work for change. And that's what I've actually seen from both of them since. And, in that moment, when you're in a moment, I saw it and I did not get the impact. I was overwhelmed by the feeling of peace that was across downtown. That was incredible. It was supposed to rain that day, and it was a bright and sunny, gorgeous day. And the silence, and I understand the power in silence, and it was, when everybody took a knee, it was silent, and it was just overwhelming. But in that moment when they were kneeling together, again, I did not see the impact a lot because I don't have the same relationship with police personally. I mean, I've had incidences that weren't the best, but historically speaking, the relationship between black people and the police is not a good one. And you mentioned it made him and the police look human. And that's the whole thing, is that we want to make black people look human, and in the city and in our county, we have our police officers and we have our deputies. And for me, all of them are fellow community members. I'm looking at all of them as fellow community members. Like, we are in this together, and it's us as a team against racism. And when we get too much into black people against police, because again, if you look at the history of policing, it was created to police black people and property and slaves, because slaves were property, right?
Right.
So that culture and that history is has not really gone away.
Continued.
Yes, but the humanity. I think the two of them together, kneeling in solidarity with one another, to me showed that openness and that saying of, yes, this is not okay. This needs to change. And I've come up to some interesting conversations around, people feeling like it was contrived,
Right.
yeah. And and it's based on personal experience, and for me, I don't see that. And having worked with both Mayor Cummings and Chief Mills, I'm happy to be working with them, and I'm excited for the change that can
Since
happen.
that moment, have you working with them together? Have you seen them move forward with some changes?
Oh, yeah.
That
Yeah.
will be put to action, as
Yes.
you say?
So just to name a couple of things, the elimination of the carotid hold, which is also known as the carotid restraint, which is also the chokehold. That is no longer, they're no longer using that. The no-knock warrant, which is what caused Breonna Taylor to, they used a no-knock warrant to go into Breonna Taylor's house and murder her. And so that's a dangerous thing, because they were in the wrong house with the wrong people. And so a no-knock warrant will not be happening in Santa Cruz. I know that Chief Honda in Watsonville also is not using the carotid restraint, has eradicated the carotid restraint. And my understanding is San Diego did too, and then Governor Newsom has banned it across the state of California.
Well, I was going to say,
Casey.
have you gotten any backlash? Have you, like, I mean, because people take, their opinions are sometimes, like, everyone's got an asshole and an opinion.
Yeah.
Was there ever times that you were like, oh, hey, dude, back down? Were you a little nervous with people's response to what you were trying to achieve?
Well, it's interesting that you say that. I stay off of, I mean, I'm on social media, but I fortunately have not gotten that I've seen. I'm sure people have their opinions, you know, and may not like what I'm doing, but I don't really care. I'm doing
Well, you're on a
what I
mission.
think is I'm doing what I think is right, and I'm working with the people who also feel like what I'm doing is right, and I don't really care what people think.
Well, in Auburn, I think you were saying earlier that you have a relative in Auburn, but in Nevada City this weekend they had a peaceful protest, and some local bullies wearing Trump T-shirts went out there and started pushing people around, and I was so disappointed,
Yeah.
and we didn't see that here, from what you're saying, right?
So I don't want anybody to think that Santa Cruz is exceptional. I mean, we have great people, we have great, you know, beauty here, and there's a lot of really wonderful things, but don't think for 2 seconds that racism and that racists aren't living here in Santa Cruz, because some of the other actions have brought up some bias and racism. One of the biggest things that happened is there was a noose that was hung in
On UCSC.
up at UCSC, and then one in Felton too. And so, you know, there's been some, I've had a couple microaggressions, but these are from people that don't know who I am or what I
Right.
do, and it happened during the bioluminescence. It was really quite interesting.
Just recently.
Just recently, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, it happens. I don't let it, you know, get me down. There's just.
Can we ask what happened?
Yeah, sure. It was just really fear-based. You know, I was down there by myself, and my phone died, and there's a trail that takes you down the hill, and I mean, so I grew up in Corliss, and very close family friends live in Rio, and grew up over there, and all like the flats, platforms. Hidden Beach is where I boogie boarded, and I used to jog that whole way,
Right.
all around there. And so I knew this trail, and again, I didn't have my phone, so I didn't have a light. And so I asked these women, you know, and I had the Aptos Capitola uniform on, my Lululemons and my hoodie, my Little Wharf hoodie, and my trucker hat, you know, and my tennis shoes. It's the uniform, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like, you know, I'm blending in. I look like a local. I mean, this is my stopping grounds. And I was like, hey, I'm trying to be really creative on how to, because nobody was coming up and down, and I needed some light. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this in the dark and whatever. And I asked these two women. I went to two people that were together, and wearing the same uniform, and I was like, ladies, I'm scared, my phone died, I gotta walk up this trail, can you just call my mom? She has no idea where I'm at, and then once I charge my phone, I'll call her and tell her that I'm safe. And they looked at each other sideways, and they were like, okay, like what's really going on? It was I could just tell. And it was this oh shit moment for me. I was like, oh shit, I'm black. And I had this conversation with somebody the other day. They're like, that's your book title, oh shit, I'm black. Because growing up here, you know, I'm looking out at everybody who's white, and then I was like, oh wait, right. So they're like, well, we're walking up, you can walk with us. But they bolted. So I was still in the dark. and they went way ahead of me, and it was just, I could tell they were afraid. They were just afraid, and it was just their own bias about, you know, their experience with black people. I didn't take it personally, but I was like, oh, that happened.
Wow.
So.
How do you not take it personally? I mean, how do you just,
Because it's them. It's
Yeah.
just their own racial bias. They don't know anything about me. They did not know who I was. They did not know. I mean, and it's funny because I was talking to another friend of mine, a black woman who grew up right there, and her dad is a pretty prominent figure in the area, who's a black man that lives, you know, footsteps away from there. So it was just interesting to have this experience right there where I consider, you know, my home.
Right.
You know, that this happens in my home.
Do you feel comfortable in your own town? Do you feel?
It's one of the reasons why I don't really travel outside of it. You know, I've had people ask me if I wanted to move away, and I know how to navigate it, right? And I know
Yeah.
where to go, I know where not to go, and I won't go hang out in Felton, you know, or Ben Lomond, or Scotts Valley for too long. I know not to drive through Capitola at night. You know, just I know how to navigate it. I know where I'm welcome.
Wow,
and where
I did not know that, TC.
Yeah. Well, before you organized this event in May, have you ever done any activism or community organization?
So I've done so in a volunteering sort of way, really working for education. I was the PTA president. It sounds so hilarious, but I didn't realize how political a role that was. I was for my kids' school for 3 years, and you know, helped raise money to provide Chromebooks to all of the kids, just so that they could each classroom could have Chromebooks, and make sure that the teachers were well taken care of, so that they weren't spending their own money, just so that kids could have the resources that they needed for school. And then the other thing, I've served on various boards, and right now I'm on the Second Harvest Food Bank board, which is, you know, it's social activism, fighting hunger and food insecurity. And then also I'm a friend of the Walnut Avenue Women's Shelter.
Mhm.
So these are just
Awesome.
ways that I've always kind of been involved in social justice. And just being in my own skin, I don't mind going into white spaces as a black woman and making people think.
Right now,
Go ahead.
I have a 29-year-old son. TC's girls same age, and I've never discussed racism with my boy. I'm sure you've never discussed it with your girls, but you've had to discuss this with your kids, right? Growing up, as far as what they may be expecting, what they maybe have to go through.
Well, with my oldest daughter, you know, I don't know that I did as well, because I was such a young mom, and I just kind of lived through my life. And she did talk to me about experiencing racism when she was at Aptos High, and I kind of just was like, this is a part of life and who we are, and you know, you can't take it personally, and you know, here, let's find some safe places for you.
Right.
With my other children, my son is kind of racially ambiguous, and he's only 12, and he has not had to deal with it. And then my daughter is white presenting, and so it's something that I'll have to talk to her about, as, you know, standing up for people with the privilege of white skin that she has.
Something just came to mind. I might have met you working at a golf course,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's golf course here in town, which is that kind of white man's world,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was this. I mean, I've talked, and I think you did an ad on my show before or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But there was this black woman, beautiful black lady, you know, doing right up front. Your officers were right in the front there, black lady, and she's selling the whole wedding package.
And any other event that.
And any
Oh.
event,
You were booking the big events
you
down
were
there.
booking the
Yes.
big events.
Yeah.
So was that a challenge for you?
Well, I kind of say something. Was he
Yeah.
nice to you?
No, he was terrible. no,
Neil?
Neil was one of the nicest.
Okay,
Yeah.
just
I
wanted
mean,
to
how
make
were you
sure.
I miss that. That's one of the reasons why I'm so happy. There's a group of guys there that I would always, the regulars that I would love to see and look forward to seeing. Definitely Neil.
Was there any challenges came up in that world?
It's interesting. I was in my own little bubble in that office. I loved that office.
Right.
Being in there. It was when I had to move down into the dungeon that was that was challenging. No, I mean I worked with really open-minded people with when I was booking, especially the regular events that I would book, and then the nonprofit sector. That job was really a good thing, and it helped me grow in my knowledge of the community and who the community players are, and so it played a big role in me making the connections that I have today with community members. Like I did a couple of events for the United Way and met the CEO there, Keisha Bowder, and
So you got a lot of good connections out of that.
yeah, and then
good.
I served on the board at the chamber, the Aptos chamber with Supervisor Friend, and so made that connection.
Right.
And by going to those meetings, I've met Sheriff Hart, and so it makes having these community conversations around racism and changing policy and coming to understand why things are the way they are
Yeah.
a lot easier, and because the introduction has already happened.
Mhm.
And I have a background in sales, and it's really just conversation and providing a service and being curious, and so that's how I've led all these.
She's going into
conversations.
politics, Neil.
I know she is.
Yeah, it's the ducks are lined up. She's got the sales angle. Talk to anybody. You got the
Right?
connections you're working on.
She can talk.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be what do you have a 5-year plan?
Well, it's interesting. It's I was asked to run for city council. I don't live in the city of Santa Cruz, so I would have had to move. But I feel like right now I'm learning so much, and there's just such a big opportunity for me to do more as an active community member and community organizer than there would be for me to run for office right now. If I were running for office right now, I feel like that's where all of my energy would be going into. And right now, I'm able to, continue these conversations around budget, and, because there's this whole thing that we haven't even talked about, with defund the police and,
Right.
Those hot button words, talking about, budget and how budget can be reallocated to, benefit Black lives in the community. And so.
Well, and maybe we could talk a little about that, because
Yeah.
the defunding thing is used. It's weaponized now in politics, and to me, and maybe you can educate me. I'm here defunding as more of like the social service programs and things that police doesn't need to be involved with. Maybe county or city needs to be involved with, not taking deputies off the road.
Right.
Am I wrong by that?
No. You're right. You're right. And I'm not an abolitionist, because remember I said I look at our deputies and our officers as community members. So I don't want to abolish police and then have a whole nother disenfranchised group of community members. I want us all to be able to, again, come together to fight racism. And so it's about finding ways to look at the budget. For example, bringing in social workers, like you said, or mental health workers, so that if there is, a mental health emergency that a police officer is not trained to address, that then, a social worker or a mental health worker could come in. And that exists to some extent, but to a bigger extent, it needs to happen. And one of the
So needed in our
Oh,
community.
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
mental health to me, I think, is
The number one.
is a fire that has there's no firefighters fighting it right now.
right.
It needs help.
Yeah. And really, when it's interesting because when we're looking at all of this through the lens of Black Lives Matter, and I want to be clear and make sure everybody understand that there is a difference between the organization Black Lives Matter and the movement Black Lives Matter. And so just go
Can we
ahead.
talk about that
Yeah.
a little bit?
Sure,
Because I'm sure
sure,
people
sure.
who are watching right
Wanna know
now
what that means.
are like, what is the difference?
Yeah.
Because I've heard some negative things about the organization I have no knowledge of,
Yeah.
and I fully embrace the wording.
Right, absolutely.
And
And
so-
that's just it right there. It's just, I don't know enough about the Black Lives organization to speak to it and understand it. I've tried to and I've looked into it, but I'm busy doing other things that I don't want to
Mhm.
research that. But the Black Lives Matter movement is just that. It's about Black lives mattering. And then there's this whole thing about all lives matter and blue lives matter and, you know.
Typical reply from people.
Right, right. But if that were the case, then we wouldn't need to say Black Lives Matter. And for the past 400 years, we've been shown by action that Black lives don't matter.
Mhm.
And so that's really where it comes from, is about really bolstering the idea of humanity, which we spoke of earlier,
Yep.
and dignity for Black lives, because there is a lack thereof when you see a public execution of a Black man named George Floyd. And that wasn't the first time that that had happened. That's just the first time we'd seen it. And that wasn't the first time that that particular police officer had done that. That was just the first time we've seen it. You know, and
I was so pissed off that day.
Yeah.
good.
I understand how America reacted because I was so pissed
Mhm.
off.
Yeah.
So it didn't surprise me.
Yeah.
That was the boiling point
Yeah.
of just
Because you have nothing to lose at that point. And
Yes.
if you have nothing to lose, then you're
Cool.
just gonna and it is crazy making. And it's this relationship with the United States and Black people that is like this narcissistic relationship, and you have this racial gaslighting that goes on, and you're told that everything's fine and you have enough, and you know why are you complaining? And then something like that happens, and it just is it makes people just snap.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people
Yeah,
people
it may make
do.
people blow. I mean, the whole thing's just with the NASCAR driver.
Well, yeah,
right,
Oh,
and-
God.
all right,
Yeah.
and then,
Oh, God,
and
yeah.
then what's going on in sports and Kaepernick.
It's well, I was just gonna bring that up because look at the grief and that happened to Colin Kaepernick, and then I'm so proud of LeBron James in the NBA. I'm so proud of baseball, and I'm sure there's people out there who say they're not proud. They think it's disgusting. I'm proud to see it's come to this. I'm proud to see that statues are coming down. I'm proud to see that there's no Confederate flag because that's my America.
I feel like though the Trump flag is like the new Confederate flag. I went to the lake a few weeks ago. There were boats driving around, and I was like, oh, I don't feel very comfortable here.
Why didn't you feel comfortable?
Because I just feel like that, they just replaced the Confederate flag with this Trump 2020 flag.
Right.
And it just is like, it's a sign and symbol that, there's a belief system there that they want to keep and have be in place. And I have a hard time.
It's sad.
And it's only white people, and so it
That's
makes
his base.
it just makes it just, if I saw somebody driving down the street right now, it would make me feel really uncomfortable to see that. But I mean, it's interesting because I understand, the story that you were telling me about somebody, spray painting a Black Lives Matter sign. People probably have the same reaction to that, which I just find odd.
It's a really interesting time. What I would say to anybody who's watching, the most important thing you can do is vote.
Oh yeah.
You know,
And
I think
get counted in the census.
yes, very important things.
Get counted in the census
Yeah.
and vote. Those
Yep.
are my 2 calls to action. I always try to lead.
And to write that book. Oh shit, I'm black.
Oh shit, I'm black. Yeah, I'll work on that. Oh,
But
shit.
I mean, this election is so polarizing.
Oh god.
And we could talk a little bit about Kamala Harris. I know that's big news today, and we both agreed that we don't know a lot about
Enough about it,
her.
yeah.
Really make a judgment call.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that she is the first female of color to ever be a presidential ticket.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's all about awareness. It's all about accepting people. And I feel like that's a good start.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about her.
I
At
think
least
she'd
what-
have to, with what little I know, I think she'd have to kind of explain herself and kind of point out areas where she could have done better and where she will do better moving
Right.
forward for the black community.
She's tough. And,
Yeah,
and I
that's
can't
why
wait
she
to
is
see her
where she
debate.
is.
When she debates Pence, that is going to be like a national holiday because I just have a feeling that she's going to do a really good job.
Yeah, I mean, one can only hope.
I mean, she's got to be going in her field, and she's a black woman. She's got to be tough from day one.
From day one.
Right?
Which
That's the
isn't
first-
fair. Why?
As soon
I
as you
mean,
step in
what?
the door, she knows she's got to be tough.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
gonna get.
she's had to work way harder
Yeah,
than,
right.
pretty much everybody in the room.
Do you feel you have to work harder?
Oh,
than-
hell yes.
You do.
Yes, absolutely.
So I was thinking about that. We talk about swimming upstream, and and for us, we kind of swim downstream, right? To see, we do the things
Or
we
you
like,
just
do the things
swim.
we like to do.
You float pretty good these days, huh?
I float pretty good, but
Just saying, I got you. The pandemic 10.
yeah,
Good for floating downstream.
right. But you're up.
The
You,
COVID-19.
Yeah.
there's a lot more going upstream for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I had, other things, having a baby really young and, there are a lot more challenges. I feel really blessed to have grown up here, where really what I experience are microaggressions. There are areas in which education where I do feel like I was ignored or not given the amount of attention that I could have been. So looking back, I see that, and so that caused me to have to work harder to be seen and just again areas in education and then in the workplace. I've been really blessed to be in front of just some solid men who hired me, and saw me just as a person and as a person of value to the company, and bringing value as a woman and bringing value as a black woman to the companies that I've worked for. So, and again, being here and experiencing racism on a microaggression level, but knowing it's real, and little bit of police tomfoolery, but not to the extent that my other black brothers and sisters nationwide have.
Yeah.
But I feel it. That's the thing, is there's a connection there, and I feel it.
And is that connection what you feel? Is that why you were pacing in your room that night? Or pacing in your home?
Yeah.
It's because of that connection that you
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
And I feel it and I need to do something.
Yeah, and I want to, as a mother, the idea of saying goodbye to my son and be like, okay, I'll see you when you get back from your run. We're having, lasagna for dinner, and then him not coming back because he's black, like, that's just
Terrifying.
yeah.
yeah.
And then with Breonna Taylor, my daughter is 26. She's, the same age as Breonna Taylor, and it just, so I want to make this place, even if it's just Santa Cruz, create a template for change that could potentially be brought nationwide, but I do want to create at least a pocket of safety for my family and future generations. And I don't care, I was thinking about it today, like, I'm gonna pass away, my name is gonna pass away, And, you know, the words that I say here, we're going to archive it, but people aren't going to go digging for it later on.
Right.
All I care about is that there is, you know, real policy change that lives eternal, so that cops can't fuck with black kids, you know, in the same way, and that we enact the Karen Act, that we put the Karen Act in order, which makes it illegal to call 911 for racially charged, you know, a black man is riding his bike down the street and I feel uncomfortable. Like, that's bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I loved how, was it Karen with the dog walker? Is that Karen? Yeah. So.
I think so.
Yeah,
it might be one
it's
of
a perfect,
yeah.
but that was so ridiculous.
Yeah, and then the bird watcher.
Ridiculous. It's just, it's maddening to me because like I said, when all of this started, I just wanted to do something.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so I get it, and I'm so proud of you because
Thank you.
I always say that my philosophy in life is if you save one person's life, you were here for such an amazing reason, and that's all it takes. Like the hard work you do, if one person is saved, then your place on this earth was a success.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because really, I was watching this thing on Goldcast last night, and one of the guys was saying is it's just, you know, it takes one person to make someone's day or break someone's day, and that's all I have to work with is one person, just me. And then I was raised thinking, okay, you can be the difference, you can make a change, and so I kind of put that to the test, right? With this putting out this text, it was a text that went out in 48 hours.
And what's that group called again?
Oh, it was Black Girl Magic.
Black Girl Magic. Okay.
And it was, you know, my the larger community of people that I've met in the years that I've been here and the work that I've done, the service work that I've done. And, you know, my parents I'm modeling behavior too. My parents are really involved. My dad helped to build Shrine Coffee, which is the new coffee shop on the west side. And my mom helped to build St. Francis High School down in South County. So I've seen them do service. And then my aunt, who's passed away, helped to start what used to be called Santa Cruz County Health Options, which is now Central California Alliance for Health, which is the managed Medi-Cal.
Yep.
Again, another social service, right? So I'm modeling behavior, and so and taking their example and being that one that can make a difference.
Right.
And what I really love is that it's brought the black community together in a way that I'm told has never been done before, because I knew I needed it. And I'm loving seeing everybody come together, because we're not seen. We're so fragmented. It's like, it's very rare to see, you know, two black people walking down the street, and then if we do see one, we're probably just like, oh, they're from out of town. They don't actually live here.
Right. Yeah.
But so I'm that's one of the things I'm
I feel like you've made a ball of snow and you've put it on the hill and you're giving it a little push, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what you've done, and hopefully this thing is just gonna steamroll down the hill.
I'm like, I saw that and I go, I know her. She did that. No, she's a wedding planner.
Well, you seem very motivated.
Yeah.
I feel really inspired when I have people who see it, who get it, and you know, it's really discouraging when I come across people like the gentleman that you know I spoke to. I think I told you, and who just did not want to see the black perspective and got really kind of defensive when I gently spoke about white privilege and gently spoke about you know, the fact that he wouldn't understand just because he's not a black man. Like, I'm never going to try to understand you both as men. I'm not going to be able to do that.
Right.
And so,
especially Neil.
Yeah.
Really
yeah,
tricky
I know.
over there. Yeah.
But I get, so those types of conversations can be really discouraging. And then when I hear things about people, you know, spray painting, you know, Black Lives Matter sign, it just makes me sad to to see honestly where these people are flawed. Really, it's just a flaw, and in some ways they're a victim of the society that they were brought up in to believe that they are superior, but they're not willing to look at the fact that they may not be superior.
Right.
But where I get really energized is when I talk to, especially men like you, white men who are just like, you see it, you get it,
Yep.
and you're willing to talk about it and talk to other people about it and point out where our system is really broken and really flawed, and where it can do better and be better, and where the dignity of black people needs to be recognized and how they need to be treated better.
We're glad you came on the show.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
I totally agree. Now, I was trying earlier, you know, you possibly will aspire to be on a council someday, but is there a brass ring in your life? Is there something that, if the sky was the limit and we could put Joy in a position that you would just dream to be, what would it be? Like what?
Oh, I could be president of the United
Ah,
States.
I mean, that's you seem like you are strong and you are driven, but what would it be for you?
Driven, yes. You know, again, I'm honestly after hearts. You know, really, because we can change policy. Because it's not illegal to be an asshole, right? But if we can change policy that makes it illegal to be an asshole, like to call 911 on a black man who's riding his bike down the street, that's an asshole move, right? But really, where the change is going to happen is in the hearts and the character and the minds of the people holding the bias, and kind of encouraging people to step out in humility and trying to see the dignity in the human being.
Right.
And understanding that for 400 years this has been a thing, and that, you know, yes, there's been some changes along the way, but it's not equitable, and the justice system is jacked up, and, you know, things need to be better for black people, and
Yeah.
And around the world.
yeah,
Like, I was so impressed by George Floyd's protest
and
in
how it
Europe.
inspired, yes.
You know, like
Right.
in Russia and like
Yeah.
crazy
I
places.
was watching today. I mean, I'm a big soccer fan.
Yes.
So in England, all the soccer players, before the game starts, they on one knee for 30 seconds. Okay, that's in England. So I'm watching a game today. I turned on a game today. It was in Germany. I'm like, well, this ain't gonna happen in Germany. I didn't think it would, but oh no, they got down on one knee.
Yeah.
So it's no longer under a rug anymore.
Yeah.
Right? It's out in the open.
Yeah, and a lot of people unfortunately feel like, you know, going back to the backlash, people feel it's performative, you know, taking down these statues, changing the names, you know, Mayor Cummings and Chief Mills taking a knee as being performative. After getting to know those two, I don't think that it was performative at all, and I think that, you know, when you see these things happening on a larger scale, like nationally with these footballers, I feel like it's reminding people that this is still an issue and something needs to be
Right.
done. And so while there might be some performance in it, you know, it is a reminder. It's a call to
Right.
be reminded of what we're
Need
up
about
against.
500 more of you all around the country. I'm
Well,
sure.
there are.
I'm
there
sure
are
there are,
so
yeah.
many.
They're
I'm just
organizing.
one, and that's the thing is that, I mean, this is a small place, you know, and I'm happy to be building community and building relationships and making changes here, but I'm just one person in Santa Cruz, so to have the two of you, you know, spreading this message and looking at having the opportunity to reach out to community leaders and say, hey, what are you doing to make a change? Because because the Black community is so small, we do need, you know, people to bolster our message and our voice and amplify, really amplify our message and,
Right.
and our voice, because you're being clear about who you two are and what you believe needs to happen.
Well, I feel like you're an inspiration to people who are pacing in their home and don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And you can do things, and it could be small or it could be the sky.
Yeah.
But you have a voice and you can do things.
Yes.
And if there's anything that I see and take away from meeting you today, is that the inspiration for people to have the courage to try.
Yeah. Thank you.
And that's, I think, important.
It is, and I'm so glad that you said that, because I'm not anybody special. I'm just a kid who grew up in South County. You know, I'm the oldest of 6 kids. I have 3 kids. I'm a teen mom. I went to San Jose State. You know, I worked here locally. I'm just a Santa Cruz girl, you know, country kind of Corralitos. And there's nothing any different about me than there is about anybody else who's listening. And you know, it really goes back to being the change you want to see in the world.
Right.
And so you know, I put that to the test, and being, you know, I can be the difference. I can be the difference.
Well,
and I was not expecting it. I thought it was just going to be me and just like maybe like a handful of people down at the clock tower that morning.
Yeah,
and it's just like, I had so many people like, how can I help you? My friend Chris Davis was really like, okay, I'm going to call this person. We're going to get this person. And then I had some friends that own the Slough Brewery. They got involved, and you know, and then I had you know, the NAACP and Santa Cruz Indivisible. You know, all these, they got wind of it, and they just like spread the word, and it was just incredible.
Good for you. That's wonderful.
I am very proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We need more joy in the world.
That's right. Thanks, Joy, for coming on the show, young lady. Thank you.
And everybody listening on Santa Cruz Waves, first off, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
And I hope that you can inspire yourself to become a Joy Flynn sometime in your lives.
Right.
And just try to make a difference.
Yeah. Try to make a difference.
Yeah.
1 inch at a time.
Yeah. Start with yourself if you must. You know, read books, get to understand the Black perspective, and really, you know, the racism is built around you know, slavery, and the template of oppression was built around oppressing Black people. So when that template gets dismantled, you know, it's the root of racism. Everybody wins.
Right.
Everybody. It's not just doing an arm of the branch. It's eradicating it altogether. So.
And please go out and buy her new book, which is going to be
Oh
called.
shit, I'm Black.
Great title.
Right. So
You can follow me on. I'm on Instagram at Assemble with Joy.
Okay. And your Facebook, you're on?
Facebook, I'm on Assemble with Joy. I don't have a lot of action there, but mostly on Instagram. But I am at Joy Flynn on Facebook.
Thanks for coming on the show.
And after you do your next big thing, we're gonna have you back.
Okay.
Yeah,
for
because
sure.
there's a lot
So,
more good coming out of you.
So tomorrow night we have Justin Cummings, Mayor of Santa Cruz.
Yes.
Right.
And we'll touch on this again tomorrow
And
night.
I'm going to try. You know, I was thinking about we having the show. I'm going to ask Andy Mills to come down here too.
Okay.
Good call.
Right?
If he's not busy.
If he's not busy.
He's just the chief of police.
Yeah,
so
no. Let's see if he's got nothing else to do. Come on down here and talk about that some more.
Yeah.
But you know, we've had Andy Mills on the show. I'm very proud of him. He's very transparent. When he first showed up in town, we were the first people he talked to, and he says, "I'm going to be transparent. I'm going to live downtown," and he's done that.
Yeah.
I feel he's trying.
Yeah.
Good, bad.
Yeah.
We need people like that.
Yeah.
So we'll hopefully.
Well, we have to eradicate, you know, the predictive policing that is, you know, can be racially biased when it comes
Right.
to identifying people. So that
Absolutely.
was good too.
Now,
Yeah.
Joy, can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Can you grab that camera, and point it at TC and I? Because something needs to be discussed. You know, what are we
Do you want me to
discussing?
go around
That
and-
looks good right there. I think that's good. That's good.
So we need to talk about fishing, TC.
Oh, here we go.
and this is for your wife.
Okay.
right? This is for the missus.
Here we go.
So, if you would explain to the public what happened the other day. And
Okay. Do you want me to tell the truth? Is that what you want me to? Okay, so here's
Yeah.
the truth, everybody. I took Neil fishing with my wife. I immediately.
The first day, though, remember the first day I caught a
Yeah, you
rock?
caught a rock. Oh yeah, so we went. That's true. We went for Dave King's paddle out. It was an amazing day on the
true.
water. It was a great paddle out for the send off for Dave King. We went fishing for a little bit, and then Neil caught a rock, and it was a very impressive rock. There was a sea anemone on there. And,
yeah.
it was very impressive.
You were laughing your
I
ass
was
off.
laughing my ass off. It was awesome. So lo and behold, he goes, "Hey, let's go fishing the next day." So lo and behold, Sunday, we
Yeah.
went back out.
Yeah.
And we went to my secret spot, and I caught 4 halibut.
Chickens.
Chickens, yeah,
Small
they
ones.
weren't impressive, but I
And
caught...
then, meanwhile, your wife is like, no, get us out of here. She's pointing where we need to be going.
My wife wanted
and
to
she's
go
like,
somewhere else.
Neil, call your friend, call your buddy up, because we need to find out where the fish are at. She was pissed.
I took him to the dump.
Yeah, you took us
Literally a cesspool of dirty water.
Right.
Nothing happened.
Nothing.
They turned on me, by the way.
He turned on you.
Yes, and then my wife took over, and we moved to a new spot.
Right. As soon as we got there,
Neil caught a fish.
I saw a picture of it. It was
Yeah.
pretty big.
I'm never going to hear the end of it.
so I just wanted to be clear on the air.
Guilty.
That was fun.
It was fun. We had a good time. Yeah, it was awesome.
So-
We'll film a show from out there sometime.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We should do a show out there.
We'll do a fishing show.
That'd be fun.
And by the way, just so you know, we did see a Mylar balloon out there.
Yeah.
And
Which we did pick up.
We did pick it up. We turned the boat around, guys. So our public service announcement today is buy flowers, not balloons.
Right.
Please, everybody.
I wanna
Because
thank-
the balloons are terrible.
I want to thank everyone who's spot. Can you believe you and I wearing the same stuff?
What? No, look at this. We got the same damn socks on. Merch for.
I want to thank Merch for sponsoring the show. I want to thank Chill Out Cafe for sponsoring the show. John Pickup, Beach Nest Vacation Rentals. I want to thank Liz.
Where they roll
Where
with
they
fatties.
Chick Chill Out Cafe where they roll the fatties. I want to thank Dave Brixby. You saw Dave the other day?
Yeah.
Sweating,
He looked
working
good.
hard,
Fit. All that
kayaks flying out of there. So go rent a kayak at the harbor or the Moss Landing Slough.
Kayak connection.
Winter's coming up, so go get your custom-made earplugs from the listening
Yeah,
stack.
and listening stacks, you guys know, it's right on the corner of 41st and Capitola Road. And Justin makes the best earplugs for
And
surfing.
the other day, I almost went, after we went fishing, I almost went to Surf City Sandwich, and I veered away. 'Cause this has got to go.
No, I got out of the shower this morning, I was like, holy shit.
I cannot have eaten the Philly
coronavirus.
cheese. I mean, I wanted
The
Corona-19.
COVID-19.
one of the Philly cheesesteak sandwich and said no, go
I'm
home
so
and have
proud
a
of
salad.
you. Well,
Thank
he's
you
probably
very
had
much.
pizza for breakfast or something.
Oh, no, you're right. Our Hot Elevation Studios, which are now have classes in the park.
J Street Park.
Yeah, I mean, we should be going.
We're going,
to that.
right?
I gotta go. I
too.
gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
Who else sponsors the show, TC? My friend Sean Roback from Farmers Insurance.
Is he stealing your wave still?
I haven't been down there.
Good,
I gotta
good.
find out if he's wearing that goofy bracelet.
Oh, he has the anti-shark bracelet.
Yeah.
We need a report on that.
We do,
Yeah.
don't we? Yeah.
And
we
how
do.
about Amber, your friend Amber down at the
Oh,
brewery?
Santa Cruz Mountain Brewery, my favorite Amber.
Yeah.
And speaking of Amber, my friend Ed Fordyce from Grove Pies
Uh-huh.
came by my house last night and dropped off a gajillion pies. And he's also Neil. The best. I go, Ed, we talk about beer because he's South African. What's the best beer in town? Just bar none, hands down, the Santa Cruz Mountain Brewery Amber.
Wow. So all this time you've been praising Amber,
They're praising the Amber.
and she's actually the best.
She's the best. I want to
Okay.
thank Timmy from Pono, which is going to go to after the show. I want to
Yes.
thank Timmy from Pono for supporting
Love
the
it,
show.
Timmy.
Numa from Aloha Island Grill. I want to thank
Hey,
Numa.
Numa.
I want to thank Numa. Who am I missing,
those
TC?
guys.
The wave clock.
Oh yes.
I want to thank the wave clock. There's one over there at the East Side Erie, but if you want a great present to check out the time,
Absolutely.
the tides, the
Yes.
weather, get a wave clock.
How about the Core Fitness?
Oh, yeah. Amy,
Amy.
the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, her car is still in. She massaged me like nobody's business, DC.
All right.
Amy,
Amy.
Santa Cruz Core.
She put the elbow in you?
She stuck the elbow in.
Oh, murder. Murder. The elbow. Oh, that hurts. That hurts.
And last but not least, I want to thank Joy for coming on the show.
Joy.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Joy's
Yeah.
tomorrow
And
night.
don't
By the way,
forget your
tomorrow.
call to action to vote.
Vote, everybody,
Yeah.
and do the census.
Not for Trump.
Tomorrow night, Mayor Justin Cummings, who is going to read the City of Santa Cruz proclamation for the late Dave King. right here on the show.
That's awesome. We miss Dave King.
Yeah, and I
Both
did,
of us.
and I couldn't do it on this show, but on Thursday at my house is going to be Gretchen Farmer, who just swam the length. Took about
Oh, Lake Tahoe.
swam the length of
Oh,
Lake
man.
Tahoe. Talk about an athlete! Holy smokes!
Wow.
How long is that?
Gotta be. How long is that? It's 28 miles in freezing ass water.
It's
Yeah,
at altitude?
freezing.
Altitude,
She's brave.
right?
Is there a Loch Ness monster in Tahoe?
How far would you go?
About a mile.
You wouldn't go a mile. You go
For
like 10,
sure, dude.
10 feet, dude.
Are you ready to swim a mile?
Oh, here we go.
Okay, everybody. It's a challenge.
Challenge is on again.
Yes, swim a mile.
Thanks everybody for listening. See you tomorrow night
Good night, everybody.
with the mayor.
The mayor. Good night. Wow. All right, well, let's turn off these cameras. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.